Okay. You guys should all write that down. You guys are different because you guys have probably got into this like desire of growth and personal development and mindset work. Most people, by the time they're 27, they're mature, the brain's baked, and you trying to change their philosophy and worldviews, pretty much impossible. So what I do is instead I just try to find the ones that are ready to buy.
No, and we always say in this group that you guys are in the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. And this is good news for you, these late adopters. You are literally using AI tools, you're building automations, you're part of a cohort trying to turn that into profit. So we always say to people, you've got a beautiful 3-5 year opportunity. You guys need to take full advantage of the people who are struggling to adopt this.
Yeah. And the people are out there that want to adopt it. So they're the ones you want to help. The ones that are like, I'm ready. So like, I want to talk to the business that just got off a board meeting that talked about AI adoption as a number one priority. And they've made a commitment with budget that they're now ready to change things. If the company has not talked about it and they think they're using AI because everybody's got a Chat GPT account, if I'm trying to, sell a solution that essentially revolutionize and potentially often does repositions labor costs, because I want you guys, because I don't think a lot of people understand this. So when we look at business, right, we're building technology, there's a thing called the TAM, total addressable market. So if you think about it, there's like a CRM. So you think of HubSpot, Salesforce, go high level, there's a CRM TAM, total addressable market. And let's pretend it's a $10 billion market. So people think, oh, I'm building an AI first CRM tool. I can go after a $10 billion market. What you will fail to understand until you think about what I'm about to share with you is the fact that it's not a $10 billion market. It's a $50 billion market because 10 billion is software sales. 40 billion was consulting revenue from implementation. And today, when you buy an AI first tool, there's no need for the implementation because the AI just does it. As an example, I don't want to log in and configure HubSpot. I want to ask it questions. So now all of a sudden, when I buy these AI powered technologies, there's no need for all this services or consulting or configuration. It literally can come in, analyze the system, plug into things, vectorize the data, pull in best practices, and literally the interface. And this is why we don't do things that we don't invest in companies or build technology that we can't get it to feel like magic. That's our filter. It's a very simple filter. Show me a demo. Ooh, that felt like magic. Show me a demo. That doesn't feel like magic. So when you're looking at the size of opportunities, it's literally 5-7 times bigger than the initial just like dollars spent on, because you're essentially going to replace the investment in labor cost and be able to then, the companies are going to just be more efficient. I mean, that's why 2 people companies, 10 million in revenue, because all the other stuff that used to be people powered, accounts receivable, finance, financial projections, administrative work, literally all the operation, all the logistics, all the purchasing, all the coordination, all the management, don't need anymore. And even the engineering, you guys are seeing it. Like James, who's on my team, one part of him is pissed off. The other part of him laughs every day because he is a world-class engineer and he hasn't been writing code in months, but he's never created more in his life. So he's like got a 10x output. He's not technically writing code, right? He's setting up environments and deploying stuff, but everything he's doing, he's literally talking to Copilot. He's using AI to deploy and fix and change and tweak and pull roadmap requests and then like use codecs, and like it's almost like orchestration. So like there's the opportunity is way bigger than I think most people talk about, because they're still using like kind of archaic ways to measure market sizes. And what I've seen is like, it's not just like HR software and then I have an HR team. It's the HR team's gone because the HR AI does the whole thing. Wow.
I love what you say about making magic happen. And we have 100 people on this call, all of them of which are wizards. And they're so over indexed on the technology side. So they can build some phenomenal stuff using incredible tools and whip it up in seconds. What most people and the founders and entrepreneurs here maybe struggle with is turning that technology into actually profitable business. What is your advice for someone who's really technologically savvy, can build anything within seconds, can make magic happen? What is the best roadmap for them to turn that into profitable business?
Well, I will say if somebody actually has a AI product, not an automation, not an agency, but actually like some real tech, and they want support on that, that's kind of what I do at Martell Ventures. So if you go to danmartell.com/ventures, you can read about that and apply, and you can get on a call with Coop on my team. And even if it's not something for us, because we're very specific on the kind of things we want to get involved in, we'll give you the playbooks. Because the truth is, it's not can you build it, it's should you build it. Like with Lovable and Replit and all these platforms, like you literally can come up with any silly, dumb idea and it gets built. And if you're somewhat technical, you can kind of fill in the gaps and kind of commercialize it. The challenge is always, and that's why I always go to the action, is it's getting in front of the customers, having a compelling story, getting them to part with their money, supporting them in a way that feels good, and making sure you deliver on the promise. And that's business until, and it's coming, when the AIs start recruiting, hiring, and paying the other AIs without a human involved, that changes. And it is coming. It's here in kind of different formats, but the world of, these agentic systems literally going into a marketplace and saying, I need an AI agent that can do this kind of financial modeling, and I evaluated all the reviews, and I'm going to hire this one, and the cost is X per token or X per query or X per whatever. And it, has a credit card on file, so it can just hire within certain constraints and go and solve problems. And that's kind of where we're going. But until then, it's humans convincing another human to make a decision, right? And that requires trust. That requires clarity. I mean, right off the bat, the problem with most technology, and it's not an AI problem, it's just innovation in general, is that the person who built it, when they say, well, what is it? They start talking about what it does. Right, Adam? You've seen this. It's like, what is it? It's like, well, it does this, does this, it does this, it does this. Those are called features. People don't buy features. They buy benefits. So I want everybody, if you guys have a marketing website, listen to this, because it'll change your whole marketing and go-to-market and your sales and your process. Is instead of listing the features, ask yourself the question per feature, so what? Okay, so here's a feature. It allows you to search your whole private social graph. So what? So that you can identify influencers that you are friends with that you didn't know. That is the headline. Identify influencers you didn't know. Because that's a benefit, right? And then explain to them what the benefit of that is, so that you can do business development and find collabs and whatever it is, right? So like, to me, and that's software as a science, that's what we talk about. I just assume that people that read that book, the software part is, for the most part, they know how to write code, they know how to build shit. What they miss is the business, the go-to-market, the GTM it's called. They miss the customer success side. How do I learn from my customers? Because we've all been, and I don't know about you guys, I'll just speak for myself. I've made the mistake of allowing somebody to tell me what I should build. So let's say I have 100 customers, and I pick up the phone, I call 100 customers. Every customer is going to give me a different request. If I then, because I want to make them happy, build each one of their requests, I am no longer a software company. I'm a very low paid, underpaid service company. And I'll wake up in the future with a product that has what's called featureitis. And featureitis is a plague in your product because it doesn't have an opinion. And a product without an opinion has a bunch of shit that it can do that confuses anybody new. Some of you guys don't get that because you haven't been doing this long enough. I've been doing this for 28 years. Trust me, I've been plagued with featureitis. I've got myself in a pickle. You do this bullshit like white labels, or like, we're going to take this customer, we're going to do this weird switch thing here. And I guess everybody on that account will do this weird thing that nobody else sees. And then all of a sudden you have bugs and you're trying to debug it, because why do we have this like whole library of code that does this thing? And the new person's like, what is that for? And they're like, oh, that's for this client that we sold. How much did they pay us? $2,000. You built all this shit for $2,000. Like, why would you do that? Been there, done that. So yeah, it comes down to just distribution and your ability to position a product. And here's the thing is, and I hate the concept of product market fit because it seems so elusive. Like, what does product market fit even mean? It's very simple. Does the customer use the product every day? Because if they don't, you don't replace another product, they don't create a habit, and it's not sticky. The reason why products like Slack, WhatsApp, Zoom have such great unit economics is because they're sticky, because they're daily habits, because they're communication platforms, for what it's worth. That's one of the, if you're working on anything that's communication platform, anything that's a system of record, anything that is core departmental technology like CRM for sales or, accounting software for accounting, those are the tools that have really high sticky. If you have a thing that does a thing and it feels like magic, but you'd only ever use it once a quarter, really tough to build something with long-term value, because the churn is never going to outweigh the new customers you're adding to try to make up for that headwind, right? And that has nothing to do with the AI. That has to do with product, and that has to do with pricing and packaging. And those are the skills that nobody talks about, because, truth is, and it's cool, anybody can build software today. My 78-year-old mother-in-law can sit in front of a lovable prompt, ask it to build a mobile app for her craft community, and we'll have a mobile app. Then what?
Talk to me about focus, because you just touched on so many different things. And I know one of your principles is the 95-5 rule. And in this AI world, you mentioned Lovable, you mentioned Bot, you mentioned Replit, you mentioned Make.com, NA10. How does it, this is the most exciting time to be an entrepreneur, in my opinion. I'm sure everyone on this call agrees. How do you know what to focus on? How can you identify that 5% that's really going to move the needle, that high leverage stuff? There's so much to do, so much to play with, so many opportunities to pursue. How does an early stage founder identify what is that 5% that's going to get me the 95% of results?
It's a beautiful question, Adam, because, I have to wrestle with that as well, because I'm also a realist. And I know that of the 8 companies we've launched in the last year at Martell Ventures, and we're doing essentially on pace to do one a month. The goal of this entity is to create $1 billion worth of enterprise value in 3 years. And we're on pace, which is wild and not surprising considering the tooling and the team and all that stuff. What did I decide a long time ago that is relevant to everybody listening to allow yourselves to not be disrupted is a few things. One, the 5%. If you're like, hey, I got to focus on the 5% that's still going to be relevant in 3 or 5 or 10 years. Okay, well, what are the things that create value in this world? Well, first off, I think reach and reputation is how it's going to be, and it's always been. The reason I'm on here is because of Jack's reach and reputation, a conversation we had, the trust I had, and then the offer to want to support him in his projects. Does that make sense? So that's something everybody should invest in. Well, how does that look? Yes, you hear all these people talk about branding and personal brands and thought leadership and experts and content creation and blah, 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 blah. It's always been that way, right? I'm looking at some of you guys like Paul, right? Paul, you've been doing this for a while, but your reach and reputation, what people think of you, who knows you, has always been a factor in your exposure to new opportunities, in your ability to get somebody to participate and support your project, in your, access to, selling or markets or other communities. So I just believe the thing that I made a massive bet on, okay, millions of dollars, was going all in on media and treating the name Dan Martell as a brand. Period, full stop. There's a reason why 2.5 years ago, I called my buddy Sam and I said, I'm going to go do this. I don't want to do this. I literally didn't want, I want you guys to understand. Some people want to be known and famous and have big, I fucking could give 2 shits less. Why? Because I was already rich. So that's the thing is when you do the thing and you finally get the money, and then everybody, and a lot of famous people go, real winning or success is being rich without fame, because if you have to use the fame to get rich, then you always feel at the mercy of not having privacy, right? So I was that. Okay. People knew me a little bit in the software space, but it's a pretty small community. But it occurred to me as AI and generative video and all these, and honestly, all these big things I wanted to do in my life all of them were going to be easier, faster, or even made possible on the back end of reach and reputation. Period, full stop. So if you're like, what's a 5% of effort you can focus on? Literally learn, teach, publish. Like, and this isn't like, I don't like the language of thought leadership or brand or any, it's just like, if I don't know who Cam is or Jack or Adam or fucking Valerio, then I don't even think of you. And I might have a massive opportunity that I'm looking for somebody just like you, but because I don't know you, because you don't show up in my world anywhere, you never get presented the opportunity. I say no to 100 plus things a day because people know my name. So in the business world, we call these things luck, but there's levels to luck, right? At the highest level of luck is the Warren Buffett luck. What is the Warren Buffett luck? The Warren Buffett luck is essentially being known as the tip of the spear in his industry, and other people's luck rolls up to Warren. So like somebody gets lucky, some grandfather passes away. He's now the owner of this massive business. He runs it for 15 years. He got lucky. And then that guy decides, I want to sell the company, but I don't trust anybody. I trust Warren. So he reaches out to Warren because he knows he knows his philosophy, because he's been doing the annual meetings every year. He's been putting out content. He has this beautiful relationship with his best friend that passed away, but he still goes to work and he's a hard worker and he talks about like that's part of this, right? So that's one big 5%. Make sure people know who you are. Make sure they like who you are. Make sure you have a positive reputation. Okay, because it's reach and reputation. If you're a shitty person, you might want to fix that before you go get well known. The other part is essentially the adoption of AI as a native tool in your life. Kind of what I just said with the steps. If you don't use it as a default, then you're already backwards. Because like, and this is what Elon was trying to do with OpenAI. He was trying to create a fair playing field so that if any, state power, any corporation ever got their AI really advanced, that they'd at least have a counterpart. And regardless of, the nonprofit, for-profit part in the whole Sam Altman, you can't kill me. Microsoft comes in, saves the day, fucking don't kill the king if you don't kill the king. It was wild to watch, right? And I knew the inside story, so I'm just like, fucking well done, Sam. Like I hope someday they make a movie about that, because it kind of happened and we moved on from it. And it was a masterclass in corporate just shit. It was really cool to watch. So the reason I bring that up is I don't know, even here or any companies I'm involved in, what's going to work. I just trust the process of I will win because I'm at the edge. Okay. I'm not too early, because too early is just as bad as being wrong. I have a lot of friends that lost a lot of money being too early in crypto, too early in AI, too early in whatever. So I'm really good at calibrating. Okay, this is mature enough. This makes sense. These things, I spend most of my time on Hugging Face, right? I'm studying the models and the inference and the weights. And like, I'm trying to figure out what does the edge look like and what's ready for prime time. And then let's go run some experiments and see if we can get some customers on board, because it looks like magic. And, it's not ready yet. That's cool. Put it on side burner. I'm still here. So I just think brand and AI, and I know this is an AI talk, so good news. You're 5%, you're doing it. This is good. I think the other part needs to be there. And look, we can have a whole discussion about, this whole like AI influencers and blah, blah, blah. But man, I've been seeing this for years where people are like, oh, do you have a GPT, Dan, that I can talk to and get business advice? Even if you did, you wouldn't do it. But me looking you in the eyes on a Zoom call or in person, you're doing it. The AI can't do that because there's no emotional transference. There's no connective tissue. There's so much in the messenger that matters to the message. It's not the words I say. Like here's a perfect example. Dan tell you to do something, your dad tell you to do something. Okay. Right as soon as your dad starts fucking opening his mouth, you go in your head, you go, shut the fuck up. What do you know? Like that's literally, you're already pushing away. Dan talks, you're like, please tell me. Same words. So yeah, AI can't do that.
I love this. I think the gems per minute of this masterclass has been absolutely off the charts. What are you
I don't get to
calling?
talk about this often, so I'm in love with this convo. So thank you.
No, this is awesome. What I would love to do, because you mentioned a few of our members, I'd love to pull one of the members, Jason Flam, who we've had the privilege to work together more closely, to ask a question and pull him into the conversation. He was the person a few years back to say, read Dan's couple of books. So I'd love to pull him in. I know he's a big fan. So I'm just going to spotlight him and ask to mute and then jump on him, my man.
Hey, what's up, Dan?
Hey, hey.
Hey, first off, I want to thank you for everything you do and all the content you create. I literally carry this around with me all the time. It's catapulted my career just in the last couple of months, and I reread it every couple of months. I stole your SaaS Hourglass and I applied it to Skool
It's all
communities.
yours, man.
Yeah,
I give it to the
absolutely.
world.
Yeah, I love it. So this actually is a great segue. So my question is really about the human side of it. So I find myself similar to you, where like I want to give to my clients all the time. And it's so hard for me. Like if I was presented with an option, like you can make $1,000 for yourself right now or $1,000 for your client, I'm going to choose my client, and it's so hard for me to like resolve that because I know I need to build my own brand. I need to put myself out there. I need to get my own Skool community as opposed to, running other people's Skool communities and making them a bunch of money. I'm actually the CMO of a couple of successful Skool communities. So how do you take me back to 2.5 years ago, with Dan, and you're having that conversation with your buddy? Like, how did you resolve that? Because I know you're very much in that vein too. You've said the way to become a billionaire is to make other millionaires, right? And you freely give all your content, everything. How do you resolve that conflict in your own
I
brain?
100% can resolve it. But
Yeah.
since you brought up the other communities, if anybody, because people always ask me, Dan, what's something we can do for you? If anybody runs large communities of AI folks and they'd like me to come in and do this kind of talk, reach out to me, Dan at Dan Martell, 2 L's Martell, sell me on it, and I'll evaluate it. So it's something I really enjoy doing.
They're not AI. They're actually pickleball and basketball.
Yeah, not going to work then. But for the AI communities,
Yeah.
here's what I learned. I'll give you a quick story. When the book came out, one of the pieces of advice I got from a friend who I trusted, New York Times bestselling author, he said, promote the book. Like, don't just launch and then get back to work, really support it. And one of the things that I wanted to do is, do more podcasts, but I'm not traveling all over the world. So I offered up, I said to my assistant, I said, 1 podcast a week in my calendar, because the email started coming in. And so she created a filter, she created a process, and all of a sudden, she started scheduling. So there's like that. And then there's the people that pay me $100K to come and keynote their event live. Okay. And here's what happened. When I get paid to show up to keynote, it is a level of intent and detail. The room is packed. The experience is world-class. The kindness, the red carpet, they want to maximize the time. I mean, I'll get into the green room and they'll have 25 books with names on them that they want me to personally sign. They've got the CEO there, their best friend who read my, like, you know what I mean? Like, and as a, person that loves people, like, it's awesome. And then you counteract that with, I remember it happened 3 weeks in a row. And 1 week, the podcast got canceled an hour before. The next week, morning of, different podcast. The third week, literally 30 minutes before. And I responded, text Dan, and I said, we're done with that. And she said, I agree. Here's what I was reminded of, because I've known this for a long time. When people don't invest, they don't pay attention and they don't prioritize. The 2 P's. No money means no prioritization, meaning that other things will easily fill up that spot. And I had to learn this the hard way a long time ago when a buddy of mine asked me to speak at his event. I was in the city anyway. And I said, yeah, bro, you're a friend. I want to support you. Okay. It's like 6-7 years ago. And I show up. I shit you not, Jason. My assistant went ahead to like prep the room. And she's like, Dan, they didn't market it. I didn't even see your name on the agenda. The room's empty and you're supposed to be on stage in 5 minutes. I don't think anybody's coming. And when I walked in, there were 6 people there. And I walked out. I delivered. It's almost those 6 people got the best of me out of spite for the fact that, they didn't. And he promised me main stage. This is an event with 500 people. Why? They didn't prioritize because they didn't pay. If they would have paid my speaking fee, there would have been whole conversations about it. How do we get the most out of it? How do we promote it? We want to sell tickets. And so here's the thing, Jason, your heart to want to serve is beautiful. Finding the people and creating the agreement where they have to invest for you to show up is required, because you will never be able to outpace that. And I guarantee it's probably happened to you already, where you've shown up, you've helped somebody, and either they didn't listen, they didn't execute, the thing died on the vine, and you were doing it to help somebody to go above and beyond. And the problem is when we go above and beyond and people don't pay, they don't prioritize, and they don't pay attention. And I've just got no space for that. Those people that can't pay, those are my Kings Club members. Those are the kids. Those are the 15, 16, 17-year-olds that I mentor. Them, it's free. Everybody else, pay. Not for me, for you.
Love it. Thank you so much. And keep doing what you're doing. Love it.
Cheers, man. I want to be super respectful of your time.
Yeah, I do have 1 minute. I got to jump on another call.
Exactly. Well, dude, you've been amazing. You've blown us away. Is there, in the last minute, one thing you want to leave us on? I mean, first and foremost, thank you. This has been absolutely incredible. The chat has been blowing up. But one final thought, one piece of advice for all the AI entrepreneurs to wrap a beautiful bow on this meeting.
I mean, again, if anybody is new to my world, come find me on Instagram. Dan Martell, 2 L's of Martell. You guys can put it in the chat. It's my favorite platform because it's me posting my stories and chatting with everybody. And then if you have a real technology and you want to partner with me, go check out danmartell.com/ventures and you can learn more. Here's what I want to leave everybody with. It has nothing to do with AI, but will definitely be the result of you succeeding in AI. And it's this. I believe every one of us is striving to feel fulfilled. Not happy, because happy is a fleeting moment, but fulfilled. And if we think about what fulfillment is, it's the byproduct of feeling useful. Okay. Trust me, I work with a lot of really wealthy people. And even though they have the stuff and the money, they don't feel happy because they're not fulfilled. Fulfillment comes on the back end of 2 things. One, every day striving to be your 10.0 self. And I don't have time to dig into what that means, but think of it this way. Who did you need most in your darkest days? Try to become that person, the person that could have got through to you, fucking your thick head. Trust me, I'm still trying to work through, because I knew how friggin' disconnected, angry, shut off I was to the world when I was 14, 15. And I'm not cool enough, even today, to get through to that kid yet. But I wake up every day to try to become that person. The second part that activates the whole thing is share what you learn with other people. Share what you learn with the world. Your world could be your family. It could be your kids. It could be your CrossFit gym. It could be your church. It could be and should be the internet, because we do live in this beautiful world. And we have the technologies to get on here in front of hundreds of people, millions of people on social media, and it costs you nothing. No extra time, no extra time. So if you wake up every day to become the best version of yourself, 10.0, and share that person with the world, you will find all the fulfillment you ever thought was possible. Thanks for having me, everybody.